Hi guys,
Hey guys,
and welcome back to the Cool Beans podcast. I'm Bree,
and I'm Raymond,
and he's the Cool.
and she's the Beans.
As some of you may be wondering why our format is like this, it's because of the coronavirus, so social distancing everybody. We're just going to be recording everything and it may look different, but it's going to be the same normal conversation as always. It's going to be a great time, right Raymond?
What she said.
So in this episode, we are super excited to be interviewing Sean McBride.
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
So Sean, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a little weird kind of being stuck in the house due to all of everything that's kind of going on in the world today. But I'm making the best of, what the situation is. So, yeah, I'm having a pretty good day.
Cool. So our first question for you is, what is your background? And how many family members do you have? Where do you live? Etc., etc.
Yeah, so for my background, I guess it starts simple. I'm 22. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, raised in Staten Island, also known as the Forgotten Borough of New York City. I have, both of my parents, which I'm very grateful for. My mom, Christine, my dad, John, and then my 27-year-old sister, Heather. And then just in terms of even my faith, I grew up in the church. I was attending Sunday school from a very early age. Once I got old enough, was going to youth group every Friday night, and then got moved to Wednesdays. And then when I was also old enough, I was even a leader within my youth group. So, I've been around, faith and church, my entire life. I remember summers, doing a week of working at a camp for kids with special needs. And then even that night having to travel to church and kind of do VBS. So, that's just a, little taste of my background.
That's really great to learn a bit more about you. So our next question for you is, what brought you to Valley Forge and what are you studying here? What's your major?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of a funny story how I got to Valley Forge. So my mentor, Jason Rising, had talked to my mom kind of when I was starting to look at colleges and stuff, and told her that I should check out Valley Forge. So when she kind of told me that right away, trying to be a little bit rebellious, it's like, nah, I don't want to go kind of thing. But she ended up signing me up for breakaway and was like, listen, just go, look at the school, if you like it, obviously, you should pursue that. But if it's something, maybe you're not into, whatever the situation is, just say at least you went and checked it out kind of thing. It's like, okay. So I went to breakaway and I fell in love with the school. It just had this very home environment from the second I stepped on the campus. So I ended up applying January 1st of 2015, got in about 3-4 weeks later. And then when it came to my major, actually, so when I applied, I was a sports management major. And it was something I was, really interested in at the time. But, as I was kind of going through the program, I realized this wasn't what I wanted to do. So I remember I went and I kind of prayed about it, trying to, talk to God, trying to figure out what my life path was going to look like. And so while I'm in the middle of praying, I remember this verse being laid in my heart, Lamentations 3:28, which is, let him sit alone in silence, for the Lord laid it upon him. So for me, it made sense in the moment, but it didn't really make sense long term. So I decided to take a leap of faith, switch my major. And I remember the class that I added, Life Formation with Professor McLean. I think it was the second or third time I went, had in the middle of his lecture that very same verse. So for me, that was kind of, my confirmation that I was made to study pastoral leadership here.
So what challenges have you faced since being in college or throughout your major?
Wow, that's a really good question. So I would say probably one of the biggest challenges I faced in my time here was actually fully committing to the academic side of things. Just very briefly, through majority of my time in school, I was very much the type of student that would kind of just skate by. Wasn't really putting in full effort, wasn't really giving my all into any of it. It was more just let me do enough to get a passing grade and then kind of keep it moving. And I thought I could do that through college, but it hit me probably about my sophomore year at this university. I remember getting an email basically saying that I'd flunked out of college. To the point, I had a 1.3 GPA. And that was such a scary time for me because this was something I thought I was going to be able to graduate through, kind of be able to see it through to the very end. So I ended up having to do a year at a local school, kind of just help raise my GPA up, show, I'm still able to do college level work. And then in the 18 months following, being able to return to Valley Forge, I jumped up my GPA to about a 2.7 now. And I think just within that time, God taught me a lot about myself and showed me that, we are supposed to do everything in excellence, not kind of just skate by, not just do enough, but go above and beyond. Because in the end, it's all to give him glory and it's all to give him just, the praise that he's kind of due from us, So this was something I feel like it was more important for me to go through that challenge just because it showed me a lot about myself and it taught me to rely on God a lot more than kind of relying on my own strength in these things.
Cool. Our next question is what has God been teaching you lately? Whether or not it's with schoolwork or anything in your personal life.
Yeah, so I think one thing God has really, been teaching me lately is not believing in the labels that other people put on you. I've been going through devotion as we're kind of in this time of quarantine, and it's called "This Label Doesn't Define You." And one of the cool things about it is kind of been teaching how the world around you, the people, in your life, whether they meant it in a good way or a negative way, have kind of put, labels on you, saying, maybe you're lazy, that you're not going to amount to anything, that, you're an overachiever, you're whatever the kind of definition that they've put on it on you. And it's kind of just been able to teach, hey, don't just listen to what the world has to say about you, but listen to what God says about you. That you are a work in progress, but you are continually moving forward. That you are chosen, whether you feel like it or not. And learning to really be able to find your confidence and your identity in those things, and not in the things that people around you maybe try to tell you. So that's one thing really being laid on my heart, and then another is really just trusting him. We're in a season where it's really hard to maybe, trust some people and maybe listen to what people are trying to tell us. But I think, through this time, I've really been able to find myself, jumping into the word, jumping into different messages and things that I can find online, and really just entrusting myself and my future in God, and not just fully relying on people in leadership or people in these other kind of areas. It's much kind of giving to Caesar what is Caesar's, but ultimately giving to God what is God's.
And last but not least, to end on a higher note, and of course, whatever we talk about throughout all of our podcasts, is what is your favorite coffee order, or go-to coffee order or go-to coffee shop?
So my go-to coffee order will depend on where I am. If I am on a run, at home making it, whatever, I think just a plain black cup of coffee is kind of just what I do. If I'm going to Starbucks, caramel macchiatos all the way. But I would say favorite coffee shop. As previously mentioned, Starbucks definitely is one of them. But for more local, homegrown places, one, when I'm at Valley Forge, actually I love going to Steel City. They have some of the best local coffee. And then when I'm home, there's actually a coffee shop about 5-10 minutes from where I live. It's called the Mustard Seed. It's this little Christian-owned coffee shop. They have such a great vibe, atmosphere, and I love kind of be able to just kind of go in there and hang out with friends and stuff. So those are definitely my places and my coffee orders. So if you ever want to bring me anything, that's usually what I'll take.
Sean, thank you so much for being a part of this. It really means a lot that you were willing to sit down and answer a few questions for us and help us out. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love being a part of this, and I really hope anything I've said really kind of helps some people during the time or whatever they're kind of going through. And, you guys keep doing what you're doing because I think, this podcast can really be something special. So I appreciate being a part of it.
All right, guys, so if you liked this video, be sure to like this video.
Well, thanks for watching. Cool beans.
Cool beans.
Cool beans. Cool beans. Cool beans.